Good evening, everyone. I'm Gene Bailey. You're watching FlashPoint. Glad you're with us tonight. Listen, tonight's a program. I told these guys, do not hold back on this program. We're going to let loose. They're a little shy, a little sheepish, but hopefully we can get some real comments out of them. So make sure you go share this on all your social media. Speaking of which, if you are not, I want to tell you about two things. If you're not on the FlashPoint Army email list, you need to go sign up. It's simple, fbarmy.com/FP sign up, and you'll get information there about stuff that's coming up, events, special things. And then, of course, the War Room, which is totally separate, fparmy.com/War Room, which is a prayer community, close to 20,000 people, I believe, in that on that email list. We send, Terry writes the emails, we talk about them, she sends them. Sometimes she's up in the middle of the night, God drops stuff in her heart, and writes that for us to continue to agree together. Something about a community, when people come to pray and they come together in faith, in unity, man, things change. I'm telling you, it's amazing. So go sign up, be a part of the War Room. We'd love to see you over there. And of course, I mentioned this last night. All of our well, not all of them, the first batch of events are out there on the website, fparmy.com/events. The first one, of course, after the gala, which is coming up here in December, which you need to go, everybody needs to be there because that's going to be a fun time. Dutch Sheets is the special speaker, but there's also folks that are going to be there, Floyd Brown, Ed Rush, David Barton, Tim Barton, and some other people we're talking to. So it's going to be a great night. We would love to see as we celebrate what God has done in just a few short months with FlashPoint. You can find all the information there on the events page of the website. All right, let me welcome my my panel tonight. We'll go in level of respect. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Yeah, I didn't tell you if it's ascending or descending, but anyway, thank you, sir, for being on. Ben Bergquam, our friend from down under, Martin Sedra, and John Amanchukwu is with us as well. So, John, are you back in North Carolina?
Yes, I'm in North Carolina.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know why I needed to know that, but thank you. I miss North Carolina. I used to live there for 10 years. Okay. Let me play this first clip because it gets things rolling. Because, listen, tonight I want to hit this socialism, Marxism, Islamic stuff that's going on in America. But let's start with socialism. Watch this.
Well, AOC, and let me know if you believe this, is saying that MAGA Republicans are coming up to her and say, man, I was wrong about Trump. I'm with socialism now. Do you buy that?
Absolutely not. In fact, I'd like to see some of the people who actually said that to AOC and check their ballots and see if they actually voted for President Trump, because I can assure you MAGA Republicans oppose everything that AOC and the modern day Communist Democrat Party stands for. Mass migration and open borders like we saw under the Biden administration. Men and women's sports is something MAGA Republicans and frankly the whole country rejects. It's a 90-10 issue. Taxing people to death and taking their money and giving the majority of your income back to the government. That's a horrible idea that has not worked for thousands of years. MAGA Republicans know it, and that's why they overwhelmingly voted to re-elect President Trump. Because of President Trump's pro-growth, America First policies, he has spoken directly to the hearts of the forgotten men and women across this country, and that's who the Republican Party is today, thanks to him.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel West, I want to ask you to comment on that because there's still a faction of the Republican Party that's split and divisive. In the midst of great wins, we still got a divisive Republican Party along with the Democrats. But comment on the socialism comment with AOC.
Well, I think first and foremost, what's happening in America is less about political parties, but it is more about political philosophy and your ideology and how you see government relating to the individual citizen. As a constitutional conservative, we believe that the individual is sovereign because their sovereignty comes from the Judeo-Christian faith heritage God. They're endowed by those rights, life, liberty, and property. John Locke, the second treatise of government, natural rights theory. But when you look at Marxism, it does not respect the individual. Marxism believes that the individual is subservient to the institution of the institution of government with a little g. I would say that people need to read the Communist Manifesto and see some of the things that Karl Marx proposed, especially his 10 planks, the abolition of private property, centralized banking, government-run schools, all of these things that we have going on, from each according to their ability to each according to their need. And this thing called socialism is just one of the two underpinnings of it. It's the economic aspect, economic model. Communism is a societal model. So when you hear people talk about wealth redistribution, nationalizing economic production, they're talking about creating and expanding a welfare nanny state, social egalitarianism, equity is what they call it now, and of course secular humanism. Those are all the classic textbook definitions of a socialist theory, which leads you to a communist model. That is not something that we believe in America. It is antithetical to who we are as the longest running constitutional republic that this world has ever known. And again, no other nation has been established on, in fact, the premise that the individual is sovereign because their rights come from a sovereign God, the Judeo-Christian faith heritage God.
Amen and amen. Let me go to Martin there in Australia right now. Martin, you're a little bit further down this socialism path than we are right now. What does it look like?
Yeah, here the socialists and Islamists are combining to kill the Christian faith. You're seeing in Australia, we're about 10 years ahead of Americans. I mean, here, Islam migration is at an all-time high. This is what you call the Islamization of the West. We used to get conquered by bullets and war. Now we're no longer getting conquered by bullets and war. We're getting conquered by ballots and immigration. And if Australia, the UK, and America don't wake up, we will be Islamized. The truth is, the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan is a Muslim. The mayor of New York City is a Muslim. The mayor candidate of Minneapolis is a Muslim. The mayor of St. Louis Park in America is a Muslim. And same in Australia, we have so many Muslim mayors and councillors. And what I'm warning the West is if you don't wake up, you will be Islamized. And I think sometimes in America and in the West, we get a little bit prideful. We think, no way we're going to get conquered. No way that Islam is going to take over. But I want to warn you and remind you of the history of Christian churches. Where I come from in Egypt, 1400 years ago, Egypt was a Christian country. And the Muslims came and conquered Egypt, and now Egypt's a Muslim country. The Christian Yemen was conquered by Islam. Christian Sudan was conquered by Islam. Christian Iraq was conquered by Islam. So if the West does not wake up, they will be Islamized. But it is time for Christians to declare Jesus as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Stop being cowards. Stop being silent. Stop just declaring that Jesus is King in your pulpit and in your church, but declare that Jesus is King in the public square. And I think that's what we did wrong here in Australia, Gene, is for so long we told pastors, stay quiet about your faith. Stay quiet about your politics. Stay quiet about your religion. But now Islam is being louder than ever, and it is time to fight back.
It is time to fight back. Okay, Pastor John there in North Carolina. You heard Martin talk about it. He gave a real quick rundown of what happened in Australia. And I remember going to Australia many times, and I never saw any of that, of what we're seeing now. And suddenly it's changed. It can be the same way in the South. No state in the Union is, but even in Texas, we've got our issues here. I want to hear from you. What do you think?
You know, Proverbs 14:34 says that righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach towards any people. Socialism and Marxism, the ideologies of Karl Marx, are incompatible with Western civilization. I believe that America was founded upon Judeo-Christian principles. 55 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Christians. They believed that God superruled in the affairs of mankind and that this nation should be handed back to him in servitude. Socialism demotes God. It demotes work and the dignity of work. There's a pride, a certain level of a positive pride that comes from working with your hands rather than taking from another person because you are lazy or you desire equity. I've seen the impact of socialism upon the Black community. Right. The Black family has been demoralized because of the ideology of expecting something from the government. The government took the place of the father. The father was booted out, and in comes Big Daddy government. And so we have seen this before. We cannot bow to the tentacles of socialism, but we must remain strong in our quest towards keeping capitalism, not crony capitalism, but capitalism at the front and center of Western civilization.
Yeah, Ben Bergquam, you're out in the streets, and I love watching all your stuff there on Real America's Voice as you go where many fear to tread in the middle of protests on the street. Do you ever wonder sometimes, does it even feel like you're in America anymore?
Yeah, no, this is, Martin was talking about this. I spent the last couple summers over in France and England as well. And I go to places in America and they absolutely don't feel like America anymore. I grew up in California at a time when California was a patriotic state. And I watched over 20 years it turn into the cesspool that it is today. And so when we're talking about Australia going in the direction that it's going, how quickly that happened. And you look at Europe, the same thing. It was Islamization and communization of Europe. The people need to realize just how quickly this happens. And it really starts one with the church backing out of society and saying, as Martin was saying, as Colonel West was saying, we'll do it in the pulpits, but God never called us just to be Christians on Sundays. He calls us to go out and preach the word of God to every nation and every tribe. And when you look at what has happened, the neutering of the Christian church in America, the weakness of most Christians in America, and you contrast that to Islam, which is dominance. It actually means dominance, subjugation. They have a very clear mindset. Now they'll lie to you. They'll tell you that they're for peace and that they want to assimilate and compromise, but they don't. The purpose of Islam is to take over. When they're honest about it, that's what they want to do. And when you look at places like New York, the shame that just happened in New York and what that means to our nation, that New York is the shining example to the world of what America is. It used to be. It is a scary proposition. And so when the church backs out and then you replace God with government, and you see that in the Black community, you see that across education. We accepted the lie of the separation of church and state, took God out of the classroom and said, believe whatever you want, cut off your children's genitalia. But follow Islam. It's ironic that you can't be a Christian, but you can profess the subjugation of women and throwing gays off of buildings and everything else that goes along with that. What's happened now is you have this red-green alliance. And what's ironic about this, too, is they are incompatible as well. Islam is incompatible with the West, but so are communism is Islam together. And so you have this interesting dynamic where you have these two opposing ideologies coming together to defeat the pillars of this nation, knowing that ultimately they'll have to fight each other. But that's what we're in right now. If we don't wake up very quickly, it will be one of those two. It will be either Islam or communism or a combination of both for a time that will take over these nations and the nations of the world. And if America falls, the world falls.
So true. All right, I'm going to show you a clip that will absolutely astound you. This is Glenn Beck. This is, I want you to get ready. In fact, if you've got your phone, you can take a picture of the screen. You might want to do this because there's some statistics there that are just, I sat there today watching this and could not believe what I was hearing. Young Americans overwhelmingly support socialism. Watch.
So let's get into the new poll. You did a survey of young American voters, 18 to 39 years old, on Mamdani and his policies. What did you find?
Okay, very disturbing stuff is what we found. Essentially, young Americans overwhelmingly support socialism. Over half of them said that they wanted, not that they would vote for a socialist in 2028, but that they wanted a socialist president in 2028. That included, depending on which poll, a quarter to 35% or so of Trump voters. So we're talking about even young conservatives want a socialist, a big chunk of them. Over half of the people we polled said that they have a favorable view of Mamdani. And the really scary thing is that even more people, an even higher percentage, depending on the question, it was 58% to over 60%, had a favorable view of Mamdani's radical socialist policies. So it's not just that they've fallen in love with the image of who he is. They actually agree with the policies. They want a dramatic transformation of society. And at the heart of all of this is perceived unfairness.
Okay, so let me stop you there, because they want the policies. I don't think they understand the policies. They hear the free stuff. They hear, you're going to have a house and you're going to have a job and it's going to be fair. That's what they hear. There's not a lot of noodling going on.
Yeah, there's not a lot of noodling. There's not a lot of thinking. They're just going for the free stuff. I agree. However, Lieutenant Colonel West, when you see just go small and say over 50% of young voters have a somewhat favorable opinion of Mamdani and what he's doing, have we raised a generation that's that shallow that all they're thinking about is I don't want to have to pay for the bus ride and I want to get free groceries or whatever the thing that's never going to work, whatever he comes up with. Tell me what you think there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When you came up with this insidious thing called a participation trophy, which basically you gave them a plastic trinket to try to boost their self-esteem instead of getting them out there on the field and make them practice and work harder. Now they want a bigger participation trophy. Look, the difference is this. When I was 24 years of age as a young lieutenant, not once but twice, I went through Checkpoint Charlie. I went from West Berlin over to East Berlin. I saw the streets. I saw the cars. I saw the empty shells. I saw the depression and the dejection of the faces of the people. I saw the East German Stasi secret police. But today, our young people don't know that. Most of these young people never get to travel, maybe go down for a spring break or something of that nature, but they've never seen what, people like myself saw early on in our lives and in our careers. They don't remember the Iron Curtain of things of that nature. And that's why you see people from Cuba and you see people from Eastern Europe and you see people from Vietnam. They're just scratching their heads. They can't believe that the Americans would accept this. But the left in America today does not believe in the three branches of government. They believe in the three branches of rule. And what are the three branches of rule? It's media, it's academia, and the courts. When we allow the left to take such a stranglehold on our news outlets and dominate the narrative and also into our systems of education, which again, Marxism talks about state-controlled education, this is what you get. And so I will tell you, you look at Mamdani in New York, you look at the communist socialist that just became, I believe, the mayor or a city council seat in Ithaca, New York, the mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota, almost mayor of Minneapolis, but now the mayor out in Seattle, Washington, an avowed socialist who's never had a job, and she's still living off her parents. This is what young people see, and this is what they want, a huge participation trophy called free stuff. But remember, Sir Winston Churchill said that socialism is the creed of ignorance. It's a philosophy of failure. It's rooted in envy, and Margaret Thatcher really gave us the best quote about socialism. It eventually fails because you run out of other people's money. They're going to get a really good lesson.
They will get a good lesson. So, John Amanchukwu, let me get you to weigh in here. I mean, this is all of our, you want to talk about a mission field. This is a mission field. America's youth is a mission field. But it's, like I said earlier, it's not just the youth either. We got some moms and dads that are thinking stupid. So we got to fix that too. But what do we do, John? How do we help people understand what this is all about? Or do they have to do like Lieutenant Colonel West was saying, they just have to experience? I mean, that is the best teacher, I know, but can we afford that?
Well, 2 Thessalonians 3:10 says, if a man doesn't work, neither shall he eat. And so this whole ideology of supporting Mamdani and socialism is incompatible with the scriptures. But just think about this. Think about our current day landscape of education, where our children are. They've been radicalized by Common Core, by teachings on transgenderism. We have debates today on what is a man and what is a woman. And so when you're dealing with that kind of diabolical ideologies, I'm not surprised that this younger generation is selecting evil over righteousness. They're selecting being lazy over going to work, because people are just confused and they have been duped. And this is why I'm leading a national campaign. I've now been to 23 states telling parents that they are the first pedagogues of their children and that they are responsible for catechizing the hearts of their children. The Bible says, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. Depart from what? Depart from work, depart from righteousness, depart from truth, depart from recognizing that there is a God of the Bible that we must serve. These things should be placed before the hearts and the minds of our kids, but instead, they have been steeped in the ideologies of wokeism. And that's why they're so confused and making judgments on whether or not they want socialism or capitalism.
Martin, you and your brother and your wives, you know, you're taking America by storm. You're preaching up a storm. And there is an urgency in everything you guys preach and teach and talk about. It has to be a little frustrating when Americans just kind of sit there sometimes in the American church, is what I'm talking about, and don't necessarily receive it or think, oh, that'll never happen here. I think everything changed on November 4th. I really do. I think there's a lot of people that suddenly decided, wait a minute, he actually, the same city that we suffered 9/11 has elected this guy, Mamdani. I mean, I think it's mind-boggling to think this is what happened. So it can happen in America, and it's overwhelmingly 70, excuse me, to 80% of the vote came from the young person, the under 30 crowd in New York City. That's where they won. So speak to that, Martin. How are we going to change this?
Yeah, obviously, young people don't understand what Islam is. They obviously have this weak, wishy-washy idea of Muhammad, of Islam, but little do they know that Islam is not here in the West to migrate. They're here to invade and establish Sharia law. People need to understand Islam is incompatible with the West. You see, in the West, we believe in freedom. In Islam, they don't believe in freedom. They believe in submission. We believe in freedom of religion. In Islam, you either become a Muslim or you die or pay jizya tax. We believe in freedom of speech. They don't believe in freedom of speech. In fact, me talking about Muhammad, I get death threats all the time. Why? Muslims don't believe in freedom of speech. Not just that, Islam is incompatible with the West because in the West, we love and protect women. Every woman and liberal woman that voted for Mamdani in New York City, do you understand what will happen to you if you go to the Middle East? I mean, all my feminists and all my nice little Jezebels that voted for Mamdani, if you go to a Muslim country, number one, you'll be covered from head to toe. You will be a little ninja and no one will be able to see your eyes. I know you like Mamdani, but that's not what Islam is about. You'll be covered from head to toe, number one. You'll be beaten up by your husband. You'll be raped or made as a sex slave, because according to Muhammad, if you're a non-Muslim, you are a sex slave and you're allowed to be raped by other Muslims. So Islam is incompatible with the West, and not just because of women, but Islam is incompatible with the West because of what they believe about children. In the West, we love and protect children. We protect their rights. We protect their privacy. In Islam, they don't believe in that. In fact, Muhammad married a 6-year-old. He was 54 years old, and he married Aisha at the age of 6, and he had sex with her at the age of 9. Why? Allah told him to marry her. So all my liberals and feminists that voted for Zohran Mamdani, do you really know what you voted for? You voted for a guy, a Muhammad, who lived 600 years after Jesus, who was a pedophile, who was a warlord, who was a false prophet, went around killing people. You see, Christianity spread by the blood of the martyrs. Islam spread through the blood of its enemies. And that's why I'll tell every person that voted for Zohran Mamdani, man, you ought to wake up and repent, because Islam is incompatible with the West.
It is incompatible. And we have dropped the ball by not teaching that. We've dismissed it without explaining what it really is. Even this whole thing about there are, I think, innocent converts to Islam that really do believe it's a religion of peace. But when you explain it's not a religion of peace, it's a religion of submission, and when they call peace is because you submitted, then therefore they have peace. That's just a step over the line, but we're not educating. In fact, Neil Gorsuch had this to say about teaching history. Watch.
This is one thing my colleagues and I really agree on, is the importance of bringing civic education to our children. Over half of Americans can't pass the citizenship exam we expect people who come to this country to pass. Most Americans cannot name the 3 branches of government. And if you ask me what the greatest danger America faces today, it's itself. And we have to learn how to talk to one another. We need to know our shared history. And I think if we do that, we'll come to realize that all the things that separate us pale in comparison to the things that unite us, those 3 great ideas in the Declaration. And so, I wanted to be part of America's celebration and bringing us together again.
That sounds great. But I got to tell you, we can't just write a children's book and expect that to do it. Okay? I'm just going to tell you. I think what he had to say was great, but you go do that. Meanwhile, we got to be on the street corners talking about it. Listen, I like, back when Trump was running, it was the first time I saw John Voight in front of the flag addressing America with his very straightforward, no nonsense. Well, he released another video, and here it is, John Voight.
The mayor that has taken over New York City is a Muslim that's going to take down the city that never sleeps, the city of life's dreams, this city that our ancestors brought forth in prosperity and greatness and liberty. This city will turn into a forbidden place of darkness. The blood, sweat, and tears that the city of New York was built on will turn into a virtual refugee shelter for the radical Muslim ideology. This is now the most dangerous time for our citizens of New York. This mayor will destroy this city. We are obligated to demand our rights for our private sanctuary, our businesses, our property that we all have worked so hard for. And this 35-year-old mayor has no right dictating the rules of socialism for a city built on our highest principles with brick and stone by hardworking Americans. This must be stopped, and his mayoralty should be terminated immediately. You, the people of the greatest city, New York, are in danger of losing your city to this communist fool. We, the people, must stand for the greatest nation's purpose, the honor of our flag, the red, white, and blue, and for which it stands, one nation under God, and liberty and justice for all. This country, the United States of America, is the land of our greatest achievement, the American dream. And we, the people, have put our trust in the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He and only he can stop this horror, as this Mayor Mamdani will try to destroy New York's wealth and turn it into a socialist crap city. Let this be a warning to the people, and may God bless.
Okay, Colonel West, John Voight laid it at the feet of President Trump. Do you agree with that? Is that what he needs to do?
No, it can't be at the feet of President Trump. I think the thing that you have been reiterating over and over again, and that's why FlashPoint is so successful, it is the duty and responsibility of every American citizen, every true American citizen, to stand up against tyranny, to stand up against that rule that would oppress us. And I have to agree wholeheartedly with Martin in that we have to do better in educating and stop cowering based upon people wanting to make us self-censor because they call us names, Islamophobe, homophobe, transphobe, thisophobe, thatophobe. It's time for us to speak the truth. And I think it's very important that the Trump administration looks and says, look, Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution is known as the Supremacy Clause. And the federal government, the rule of law, is supreme over these states, over these municipalities, any other jurisdiction, as long as the federal government is acting in pursuance thereof to the Constitution. If you are seeing Zoran Mamdani do things that are in violation of the Constitution, goes against the core fabric of this constitutional republic, such as saying he is going to establish a sanctuary city, again, that's not possible because coming into this country illegally, unauthorized entry is a federal offense. Then you got to stand up and do what is necessary and what is right. And I think that the people of New York will also get out into the streets and they will stand and they will make their voices heard when they all of a sudden start to see their safety and security being threatened.
I believe you're right. I believe you're right. All right, let me go around real quick for the break. I'll go to you first, Ben Bergquam. Your thoughts?
Look, part of this is our fault. We've sat back and allowed it to happen. And when you look at especially the young generation, the reason that they're turning to socialism, besides the fact that our education systems have been taken over by radical communists, we allowed that to happen. We allowed our churches to get weak. We allowed this sin, this sex, all of this debauchery to come into our society. We allowed it. When good men do nothing, evil prevails, and that's what we allowed to have happen. And the voters, the young voters in particular, are looking at President Trump, they're looking at MAGA, and they're saying, we got the power back. What are we doing with it? And that's what they want to see. They want to see mass arrests. We talk about Mamdani, but we've got Mayor Johnson, we've got Governor Pritzker, we've got all these sanctuary jurisdictions across America and haven't seen a single arrest of any of these politicians. That's what the young people want to see, and they need to be educated on these values. We've done a terrible job at that.
Yeah, and we do need to see some arrest. All right. John Amanchukwu, your thoughts here before we go to break.
We see what Sharia law can do to our country. You know, when you look at Dearborn, Michigan, there's a Christian minister there that was told by people who were leading Sharia law that he wasn't welcome in the city. We see in East Plano, Texas, you know, that there's an Islamic center that was built there that's going to be pushing Sharia law as well. And so it's now high time for the church, for American citizens to recognize that trouble is already imminent, and we have to push back against the ideologies of Islamists. And President Trump represents tone from the top. I'm so glad that we have him in office other than Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, because we would be in a mess right now if it was different.
So true, so true. Martin.
Yeah, no, thank God we have an amazing president of the United States. I have never seen a more pro-Christian president than President Trump. I mean, he removed drag queens from libraries. He removed the pride flag from, he removed the drag queen from the White House. He removed the pride flag from the White House. And now what do we have in the White House? We have preaching in the White House. We have worship in the White House. We have prayer in the White House. So I'm just glad that we have a God-fearing president in the United States. I feel good, as Pastor John said, thank God Kamala's not in power, because if Kamala was in power, we would have had a lot of drag queens in the White House and God would have been kicked out. But praise the Lord for President Trump.
Amen, amen. So we've got a lot of work to do, because the pressure is on, ladies and gentlemen, coming into midterms. You thought what we just went through was crucial. Wait until we get to the midterms. President Trump's presidency his efficiency could be cut by a year, without a doubt. All right, we're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to talk about health care, Obamacare, and did it work at all? More on that on the other side.
Step into the land where the Word became flesh. In April 2026, join Gene and Terry Bailey along with FlashPoint guests you know and love for a powerful prophetic journey through Israel.
We're coming to Israel, and I promise you, you may have been on a tour, but you've never been on a tour with FlashPoint.
Worship where heaven touched earth. This isn't just a tour. It's an encounter with God in the land of miracles. Space is limited, so reserve your spot today.
It's breathtaking. A tsunami of darkness threatens to wash away all we hold dear if we don't act now. In Killing America, Turning the Tide on the Tsunami of Darkness, Gene and Terry Bailey bring hope, help, and chart a course that leads to America's restoration and renewal. Don't wait. Get your copy at killingamericabook.com and counter the tsunami of darkness with a deluge of everlasting light.
You're invited to a special evening with the FlashPoint Army. Join Gene and Terry Bailey and other special guests for the FlashPoint Gala on Saturday, December 6th at 6 p.m. Together, we'll celebrate all that God is doing through the FlashPoint movement and look ahead to what's next. Enjoy a beautiful dinner and an inspiring word from our keynote speaker, Dutch sheets, and so much more. Register today, fparmy.com/gala event, as space is limited.
FlashPoint isn't just a show, it's a movement. And now you can take the movement with you.
FlashPointStore.com has new merchandise.
From t-shirts to hats, mugs to more, we've got what you need to stand for truth in style. Everywhere you go, make a statement of faith, freedom, and boldness.
Make sure you wear FlashPoint. Always show your colors.
Order today at FlashPointStore.com. Don't just watch FlashPoint, wear it. Be part of the Army.
Welcome back to the second half. Listen, I want to remind you to get your copy of Killing America. So many of you already have a copy. This is a great opportunity for you to get one for some of your friends that maybe don't understand. While we don't dive heavy into Islam on this book, we talk about how they are, the politicians, how they're killing America, how they're trying to take away your rights. And listen, we've got to rally together. So I'd encourage you to get your copy of that, as well as I want to mention, of course, the gala. You saw that coming up. Israel tour, April 27th through May 6th. Come join us as we go through the Holy Land. We're going to have a great time. We just released this the other day. I guess it was yesterday, and people have already signing up. It's great. Come on, the space is limited. I need you to go ahead and register. Go to the website, fparmy.com/Israel. In fact, you can go to fparmy.com/events. Everything is there, including some of next year's events. We're still adding events for next year. And our first one is in Houston. So let me tell you about Houston. They're at Church of Champions with our friend Pastor Wendell Hutchins. It's going to be electric. I'm telling you, I can feel it in my bones. I was talking to Pastor Hank Kuhneman today. He's talking about it, and we're going to see something. But here's something different. We're bringing back Flash Talks in a big way. And part of what we're going to do is help you understand what Islam is all about. It's that important that on the second day, during the day, we're going to give you, in small bites, help you understand how to combat Islam, how to be in a conversation, what the Quran really says, not what they tell you. Because so many people in America don't even know what the Quran really says. You got these Muslim lights who think it's all about peace. They don't know what they're even talking about. And you've got the others who are way on the other side. Listen, you need to understand what is at the end of that transition period in order for us to fight it. So we're going to help train you with that. And I want to see you there. So make plans to join Houston. Houston, Texas will be the first one, January 8th and 9th. It's going to be a great meeting. Hope to see you there. Okay, Martin, I come back to you because you've gone through the trend. You said in your words that you're 10 years down the road from where America is. I don't think you're that far. I think we're playing catch up at a rapid pace unless we stop what's going on here in the States. And we can stop it. It's stoppable. And I know that's why you preach what you preach. But how do we make this transition? What is it, the thing that you believe? Let me ask you this. What is it that you believe that Americans misunderstand the most about the attempted Islamification of America?
The Americans think that Islam is a religion of peace. And they act like the victims. They act like we're just here in America to, migrate and seek refuge. But no, friend, Islam does not move to the West because they need help. There are 54 Muslim states around the world, but for some reason, they never move to the Muslim nation or state. They always move to a Christian country. Why? Number one, they are here to establish Sharia law. You don't understand. The two religions around the world that are expansive by nature are not Hinduism, it's not Judaism, it is Islam and Christianity. We are commanded to go into all the world, preach the gospel, make disciples, and baptize them. Islam is commanded to go into all the world and do two things: establish Sharia law and kill the infidel. They are here to take over the political system. Islam is not a religion, it is a political movement. And that's why I no longer call it just Islam, I call it Islamism or Islamist. It is a political movement that is here to conquer and take over. They took over Egypt, they took over Sudan, they took over Yemen, and next is America. They've taken over the UK, Australia. We are very, very close. Every time I move houses, my neighbor is a Muslim. And what's next? America. Why are they after America? Because America is the pinnacle of Christianity. If they conquer America, the West will fall. If they conquer America, that is the head of the snake, and that is their biggest enemy. That's why in the Muslim countries, what do they shout? They shout, "Death to America." On 9/11 in Egypt, while we were growing up, the Muslims were not saddened to hear about 9/11. They were celebrating in the streets, dancing and jumping, shouting, "Death to America." So Islam is not a religion of peace. They are lying to you. They're a religion of war, violence, and death.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you. Let me talk about Texas for a moment, because it's all about Texas. And Lieutenant Colonel West would understand that. Not too long ago, we talked about an attempted development here right outside of Josephine, Texas, called Epic City. We thought, and we heard from the governor, and we heard from Dan Patrick as well, that had been nixed, that they were doing some illegal things, and that's done. Well, guess what? It has not been. Look at this. Judge Chris Hill says, Epic City Development Update. Let me just read it to you. Planned Islamic development now called The Meadow. Development Group Community Capital Partners, which ironically they go by CCP, appears to be getting ready to submit their plans to Collin County for review. It's the CCP is the company behind Epic City. Islamic-focused community plan near Josephine, Texas, in Collin and Hunt County. According to the diagram of the planned neighborhood, show that, guys, the developers have changed the name of the project to The Meadow. No plat has yet been filed with Collin County, but the report CCP have filed or soon intend to file an application within the Texas Commission. Okay, so Colonel West, this what we did see as Epic City is now The Meadow, and what they're doing, and I won't read anymore because it gets cumbersome, but what they're doing is they're going with different ownership of properties. So they're coming with this loose consortium of owners so that it's not just one big property developer that's coming in trying to develop something. They're coming with these different things that are filing. They're going to come together and form The Meadow. And before you know it, we have something called The Meadow, which is an Islamic community just north of here, Josephine, Texas. Tell me what you think about that, Colonel West.
Well, it's no different from allowing the other CCP to come into the state of Texas and purchase land, especially land that's close to military bases and installations. Look here in North Texas, and I live in Garland, so Josephine is not too far away from me. But right next door to Garland is Richardson. Richardson is a hotbed of Islamic jihadism, and we need to be very circumspect about that. One of the things that we need to do, not just here in Texas, but across the United States of America, go back to the 1991 Strategic Memorandum of the Muslim Brotherhood that was written by Muhammad Akram. It was discovered in 2004 in an FBI raid in Northern Virginia. It was introduced as evidence in the Holy Land Trial Foundation, the Islamic Terrorist Foundation trial in 2008. We need to declare here in the state of Texas that the Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization. And all of those organizations that are listed in the Appendix 1 to that strategic memorandum, they should also be part of that, listed as a terrorist organization. What they're trying to do is they're going to use HOAs, homeowners associations, to try to come in and create this community, this meadow. But what's going to end up happening, and I think Martin and many others, I've been over to Europe and seen this, you create these no-go zones, and that's not what we want to have. But that's the eventuality that they want to get to. So I think it's very important that here in the state of Texas that the governor and also our Texas state legislators say once again, just like Beth Van Dyne did back when she was mayor of Irving, Texas, that we're not going to allow you to have this exclusive community, which you're going to try to dictate under a system of governance, a system of law that is unacceptable. You know, in England, you're supposed to have English common law, but now they have Sharia law, and they have places and communities that people don't go into that are infidels, as Martin said. So that's what we have to do. We have to tackle this from a constitutional basis, from a legal basis. I know Judge Chris Hill there, who heads up Collin County, and I hope that the Collin County commissioners will reject whatever plan that is brought to them.
I agree. And this, those that live in that area, we need to bombard them. Maybe we fly John Amanchukwu in as a temporary resident of Texas.
He's 6'4". He can bring the heat, brother.
Come on.
Yep.
All right, Ben, that's Texas. That's just one instance, and there's more in this state, but it's all over America. These things are happening under the radar, and most people have no idea this is even going on.
Yeah, Colonel West talked about those three elements. You've got the education system, you've got the media, and you've got the courts. And the left has monopolized those three mountains, as Lance Wallnau calls them, for decades. We've allowed it to happen. And you look at what Islamists have done. They've weaponized our Constitution against us. They're using our Constitution to slit our own throats. They're laughing at us as they use words from our Constitution to bring in this backdoor of Sharia law into our country. And I do want to echo what we ended the first segment with. Thank God we have President Trump in office.
Right.
Thank God we have him rather than Kamala Harris, because we would be dead as a nation. But we have to recognize what's happening here. You got Plano, Texas, the same thing. Obviously, Dearborn's all over the map. But this is happening all over our country right now. And if we don't wake up, and we absolutely have to label the Muslim Brotherhood, CARE, all of these Islamist organizations as terrorist organizations and rid them from our country, that we have to go on the offense. We can't sit back and play. And this is, again, going back to my first statement, this is our doing. We allowed it to happen. The weak Republicans, that's why people gravitated to President Trump. We finally had a leader who came on and said, I don't care if it hurts your feelings. We're going to do what's best for American citizens. And that's why we see what's happening on all these sanctuary jurisdictions where we're going after illegals. God bless ICE for all the work they're doing. We have to go back and we have to take the offense back to these guys in every arena of society. If we don't do that, we are lost as a nation. But if we do that, we will defeat this.
All right, since you brought up ICE, let me show you this. Just came in out of Chicago, number 26, guys. Judge orders ICE to release over 300 detained immigrants. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings on Wednesday afternoon ordered the release of at least 313 people detained by the U.S. Customs Enforcement between June and early October. This outcome in response to a lawsuit filed by the ACLU, there they are again, of Illinois. The National Immigrant Justice Center validates some of the recent accusation of ICE violations and could create a template for other legal actions across the country. John, this is something we just can't have. And listen, you come to this country illegally, you don't have the rights. You just don't. You don't have those rights that free citizens have here in America.
You know, I agree with that, but we have sown to the wind, and now America is reaping the whirlwind. Just think about what President Joe Biden did. He let in nearly 15 million criminal illegal aliens. And many of these people are coming in. They are bringing crime. They're bringing fentanyl. Many women have been raped. When you just think of the numerous insidious things that are taking place in society because of criminal illegal aliens, we have to get back to law and order. Just think about SNAP and the number of criminal illegal aliens that are on SNAP, 70% to be exact. And so we cannot stand up under the weight of taking on individuals who've come into our country illegally. Our debt ceiling will continue to increase. The overall morale of Americans will continue to plummet. It's the idea and the concept of realizing the American dream has been bastardized and passed off to people who are here illegally. And so at some point, we're going to have to draw the line in the sand. But every day, it seems, Gene, that some activist judge is overturning what this administration wants to do. And that it shouldn't take place and it shouldn't happen. And so I never thought that it was the rule and or the authority of activist judges to infiltrate and to begin to litigate from the bench. And so I strongly feel that America needs to open her eyes and see that we are, for the lack of better words, being taken under siege by Babylonians. We are being captured and rescued in our own home and native land.
Since you brought up healthcare, I said we'd talk about this, so I need to show a couple of clips here. We all know about the shutdown, and we're trying to dig out from under it, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, look at this, number 7, guys. This is Representative Byron Donalds really breaks it down, Obama healthcare. Did it work? Watch.
Subsidies do not fix health care. What fixes health care is getting rid of Obamacare, actually having patient-centered health care reform, health savings accounts, catastrophic insurance plans for young people so they can actually afford health insurance and have policies that work. The issue we have is that the Democrats want to use taxpayer money to cover up for their failure when it came to health insurance in the United States of America. That's why premiums are through the roof, not because of subsidies. So instead of doing the right thing on behalf of the American people, being focused on affordability, a part of which is health care, they want to continue to enrich health care companies as opposed to doing what's right for the people of our country.
That's right. Healthcare insurance company and these healthcare companies are the ones that made all the money and made it worse for every American. And you thought you were getting a better healthcare. You weren't. In fact, I have to do this. my favorite senator, John Kennedy, in the way only that he can say it, healthcare.
What is the answer from Republicans? How can you address affordability when it comes back, apparently in about a month? How will you debate? What will you say to the voters about the rising price of healthcare?
Well, here's what I'll say, Will. I'll say if we learned anything through this intergalactic freak show shutdown, we learned that Obamacare is not working. We were promised if we did it, premiums would go down and insurance would be more accessible. It's been neither. We were promised our lives would be better. Our lives are worse. We need to fix it. Just extending the status quo is like putting fresh paint on rotten wood. Now, how are we going to fix it? Well, we're going to vote on revising Obamacare exchanges here before Christmas. We need to put together a proposal that looks like somebody designed it on purpose. But longer term, to the larger issue, health care is part of affordability. What the Senate needs to do is get up off its ice-cold, lazy butt and do another reconciliation bill. We don't need support of our Democratic colleagues to do that. We can do it with all Republicans. I think we did an extraordinary job with the one big beautiful bill, but under the law we have the authority to do two more. We haven't done anything since the one big beautiful bill. After the holidays, we need to get serious, and in a new reconciliation bill, we need to address the cost of food, the cost of health care, the cost of housing, the cost of regulation. Regulation of goods and services makes all of our goods and services cost more. And the Senate needs to rise to the occasion and do something.
I think you just echoed the thoughts of millions of Americans. Colonel West, your thoughts?
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to share a great quote from Napoleon. He said, never interfere with your enemy when they're in the process of destroying themselves. That's exactly where we see what was known as the Democrat Party today. The buzzword is affordability. There's nothing affordable about the Affordable Care Act, and that has been proven in this insidious shutdown that the Democrats led over these past 40 to 45 days. They need to stress the point that it was Obamacare that destroyed flexible spending accounts and health savings accounts. That allowed people to have, money in their pockets, non-taxable, that they could use for their own health care. And you punish the young people, you punish healthy people to try to compensate for, the increase of these insurance premiums. And again, who are the ones who've been getting rich off of this? It's the insurance companies, because the individual mandate unconstitutionally forced the American people to go into a contract with a private sector entity, and those were insurance companies. That's not part of the taxing authority of the United States Congress, even if John Roberts thought that it was. So I think this is a great time to have a little bit of civics understanding, a great time to have some economics understanding. The American people know that this thing is not affordable. They just need to have some clear, viable, common sense solutions. And I think that Senator Kennedy just proposed several.
I believe so as well. Listen, we say it all the time, and it's not just the same, but elections do have consequences. Mm-hmm. Who we put in office does affect you. May not be today, may not be tomorrow. But can you imagine if they had not put in AOC or Bernie? Okay, I know. It's not right. Can't go down that path too long. All right, so I want to go. I got 4.5 minutes. I want to go with you, Martin. Congratulations. You guys have launched Echo Church Orlando. Why? A bunch of Egyptians that live in Australia plant a church in America. Come on, that ain't American.
I don't know. Who knows? This is a crazy, crazy God move. I mean, we moved from Egypt as refugees in 2007. We were going to get killed under the Muslim Brotherhood. We escaped for our lives. We were going to get beheaded and killed by the Muslim Brotherhood. And here we are in the West thinking that our life is ended. Our family is back in Egypt. Our business is back in Egypt. And God said, actually, no, your life is not ending. Your life is just beginning. And I like to say it this way. We were refugees, but now we believe we are reformers. We thought we were escaping Islam, but we came to fight Islam. I was hearing a Muslim imam in Florida. He said, Islam will conquer America, whether you like it or not. And that's why we feel called to plant a church in the United States of America. We want to get right in the middle of the Islamic battle. We want to declare that Jesus reigns over America. We will fight for America. We will declare Jesus. We want to save souls. We want to win back the hearts of the American people to Jesus Christ. So we're ready to go. Be praying for us, and we're excited for what God's going to do.
Amen. Well, welcome to him. Welcome to Florida. It's not really America,
Thank
but
you.
welcome to Florida. All right, John Amanchukwu, your final thoughts here. You got a minute.
Yes. Gene,
I think we lost your video, John. We'll come back to you in just a second. I'll go to Ben Bergquam. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, two things. You played that. You talked about the judge that is blocking President Trump or trying to release illegal aliens. Just remember that judge. The reason that judge is doing that is because of a memorandum of agreement under Joe Biden, Secretary Mayorkas, and leftist activists, the same leftist activists that are attacking President Trump and ICE today. We have to take the fight back to these organizations and individuals. President Trump, Tom Homan, the rest of ICE should say, we're not going to follow unconstitutional laws. We're going to lock these guys up. We're going to deport them all. And the only thing I'd say to Senator Kennedy is we don't want to reform Obamacare. It needs to go away. It was a disaster from the beginning. It cannot stand on its own. It needs to go away.
I think you're right. Okay, John, your thoughts?
You mentioned earlier about me being in Texas, and so I have a list of states right now that I'm praying through as relates to doing ministry or even launching a church. And Texas is near and dear to my heart. And so pray about that. And if there's anybody out there who's interested in something of that nature, just go to iknowgod.us and let me know what you think. But my wife and I are praying through the state of Texas and that idea and concept of launching a church. I believe that we need more truth preached as never before. We're in the last and evil days. Christ is soon to return. And now is the time to buckle up and stand for truth.
All right. Colonel West, 45 seconds.
I just want to tell you this has been a great conversation. And once again, I think that as we get ready to go toward the 250th anniversary of the greatest nation that the world has ever known, longest running constitutional republic that the world has ever known, we've got to get back to our first principles. We got to get back to understanding we were founded upon Judeo-Christian faith heritage principles, and those things, those ideas, those ideologies, those philosophies that are antithetical to that, we have to start rejecting it. It's so important that we raise up a new regiment, a Black Road Regiment. And I see that we have that with John Amanchukwu and also Martin. And let's get more pastors out there that are preaching the word in season and out.
Come on, amen. All right, well, thank you to Ben, of course, Lieutenant Colonel West, Martin Sedra, and John Amanchukwu. And you know, John, if you come to Texas, they issue you guns at the border. You have to get a gun. The AR, you know. Bump stock, everything. You get it when you come across. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'm kidding, everybody. Don't write me letters. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of what's happening here in America by FlashPoint. And I love it that you watch, because here's why. You know the truth, and you know the truth will set you free, but you got to know the right truth. And it's not my truth, your truth. It's the truth. That's who Jesus Christ really is. Thank you for being a part. We're going to see America saved. We'll see you Monday. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard me talk on the show as we dove into socialism and Islam. I talked about what was going to happen with some of our flash talks. And we're going to help you understand the battle you are in. You and I are in. I'm having to educate myself. I thought I understood. I didn't understand. But I am going to understand better and better and better, because this is important. If we're going to save America, we must understand the battle we're in. Does you no good to fight something you don't know what you're fighting, lest you be pulled from one side to the other and not even understand it. That's why it's so important that we work together. So we're going to start bringing you some materials available for you to be able to buy so that you can educate yourself. We'll do this at the venues as well. I just want to encourage you. 2026 is going to be amazing. We have a lot of stuff happening. We want to see you involved. Go to the website, find out more. Of course, we appreciate every gift, everybody that gives. Thank you for that. Remember, FlashPoint, we're not just sitting back waiting for the midterms. We are plowing the fields. We're working. We're bringing in the harvest.